Ineffectual beer cozies, sneaky masters of the universe review, top countries listening to this show, skinny jeans versus wide-leg jeans, all this and more in our 1-year anniversary special. Mates, friends, buddies, it's written on...
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah, can you hear me all right?
Yep. And can I... This is going to be stunning for me to listen back to in the edit. How the fuck do I silence motherfuckers? Here we go. Focus. Yeah, fuck off, everyone. There we go. That is actually a focus on my MacBook and my iPhone. Is like I just hit the focus button and I have a list. That list is do not disturb, sleep, reduce interruptions, fitness, and fuck off, everyone.
Who receives that message?
It's not a message someone gets. It blocks people.
Oh, right. Okay.
Basically, it just stops me from getting any annoying messages. Yeah. Anyway. Welcome to Written Off, a movie/screenwriting podcast dedicated to the joyful experience that is movies. Come on. You know the ones, that was okay films, the ones that you saw ages ago and you promptly forgot all about. Maybe you saw them with an ex or that friend that you don't talk to anymore, so you purged it all by association. Hey, we get it. I get it. My co-host, Mark Tasker, he gets it. The audience, the mates around the world, we all get it. But come on, be honest. Films, they're more than a guilty pleasure. Sometimes you get home from work, you put on whatever streaming service you like, or if you are a connoisseur, you put on a deluxe DVD and you watch movies. And that is our podcast. Together, the two of us, we watch these films and we maybe kind of sort of suggest ways they could have been better. Now, if you're a new listener to the show, you've picked a hell of an episode to just jump on this. Because this, mates, that's what we call listeners, by the way, if you're new. Mates, this is our 1-year anniversary podcast. Wow, happy birthday to Written Off. Yes, I can hear the claps and cheers coming from fucking nowhere. But yes, I'm happy. Mark, are you happy? Look at this. We've survived. Hey, this podcast is an audio testament that we have endured one more year around the sun.
Yeah, did you know that Venus's year is about 20 days shorter than its day?
What?
Yeah, a Venus day. I think a day is 242 days and a year is 221 by Earth calculations. So yeah, it's been a Venus day. Yeah, hello, everyone.
Well done.
I was a bit confused when you said it. Yeah, when you said a year, I was like, has it been a year? But I see what you've done.
Can you remember back 1 year ago to when our very first episode debuted on the interwebs?
The glitz, the glamour.
The earth shifted.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I remember it? God.
Seriously. What has been the biggest difference between your life before Written Off and now? No joke, straight up.
It's like before a limb's been amputated and after. I eat differently, I shower differently. I have to approach the world differently, Brad.
No, I could make a really offensive joke about, No, I'm not even going to go there. Look at this. See, now that is the biggest difference. For me, personally, a year Written Off, beforehand, I would have jumped into an offensive as hell joke. I would have made something people would be hunting me down because, like, number one, that was a shit joke. Number two, that's not on. But here I am now, a year older, a year wiser. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to go. I'm not going to do that joke.
What joke were you going to do?
Nope.
Oh, right.
But I tell you what, though, in honor of our 1 year anniversary, I know for Mark, he can't do it because it's 9 a.m. or whatever the fuck where he is. But for me, it is 9 p.m. And you know what? I'm going to open. Let's see if he can read this.
Krombacher. Weizen.
Oh,
Oh, he's drinking a wheat beer, everyone.
have a listen to this, guys.
You should really pour that in a glass.
Ew.
Are you going to drink that straight from the can? Oh dear. If anyone in Germany's listening, pretend he's poured it into a glass.
Wait,
It's a
what?
Weizen. It's a Weizen. It's a wheat beer, so the wheat will all settle at the bottom. You're supposed to pour that into, sorry, you're supposed to pour that into a glass and let it think about it. No, he's
Fuck,
not going
you've
to do that.
disappointed
He's
me.
got
Wait.
fingerless gloves and a German Weizen.
I've got fingerless gloves and a wee blankie over my legs.
I would
And you know what? I'm going to drink this. How do you pronounce it?
Kronbacher.
There you go. Here we go. Cheers, mates.
Not disastrous beer. It's quite a good one.
Did
No,
you
it
hear
is.
that? That is a Mark Tasser compliment.
No, no,
That's not disastrous.
no, it's more of a, when you live in, if you've ever lived in Germany, anyone that has the pleasure of living in Germany, they are proper beer snobs. So that's not bad. That's like, I'm popping down the supermarket. I need something to drink that's drinkable, quite pleasant. So yeah, not bad. I think you'd get a weak thumbs up from a German.
Much like this podcast itself, a weak, limp thumbs up.
If we were going to have a sponsor, it probably would be Kronbacher, actually. Mid, acceptably mid.
Kronbacher. No, how do you say it?
Kronbacher.
Weizen. Is it? Yes?
Weizen. Weizen.
I'm just going to drink this.
And I should say as well that my relationship to this
Oh.
podcast, essentially, if you think about this podcast, Brad and I go hunting. If you, not that I would, but Brad and I have gone hunting,
Or I would. Yeah.
and
Don't throw me under the fucking bus.
we've killed a hare for argument's sake. And at that
Right.
point, I retire to the hut and probably go to sleep. Whereas Brad has to skin the rabbit, prepare the meat, cook it, and then he serves it up to me a year later. That's the difference between the effort that we put into this podcast. I swan around, aiming a slingshot at a rabbit, and poor old Brad has to do all the hard work. So kudos to you, Bradley. Well done.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate that. Considering you don't listen to any of the episodes, so you've got no idea on the actual quality content.
I download them all, and I do hear them wafting around in the background as my wife listens to them.
Look at this, my beer cozy, of which this is probably going to earn me less awesome points. I'm sliding my long, tall can of Weizen beer into a beer cozy. Even worse, it's a Christmas beer cozy, for fuck's sake. And we're recording this in July.
What's the point of a beer cozy?
To keep the beer colder? No? Has the science failed me?
Well, you're holding it on the can part, so isn't
Because
the whole point?
I can't fucking slide this fucking thing. Look, God damn it. It's like the equivalent of like a 15-year-old. No, sorry, I'll change that. It's like the equivalent of an 18-year-old boy telling his girlfriend, like, oh, the condom's too small, honey. Some random fucking excuse like that. I cannot put this beer in the fucking coaster. This is horrible.
It's a horrible visual image. You're sparing people.
I'm half clenching the top of the beer can while this flimsy cozy dangles off its ass like fucking Eddie Murphy in Coming to America.
In all seriousness, because we don't have them here, I've seen them sold in a couple of places, but they're not a thing here at all. So the idea being it keeps your hand away from the can, doesn't it? Isn't that the point?
Is that all? Because fuck that. I don't give a damn about that.
It's not got a refrigerator in it, has it? I can't imagine what. And isn't it made of kind of a warm material?
Oh man, now you're shattering all my hopes and dreams in one foul swoop.
I'm typing in beer cozy purpose.
Yep. You do that. I keep drinking.
Yeah, protect hands from the cold and prevent condensation.
Oh, well, fuck.
And he's got the majority of his fingers all over it for anyone who wants to.
But I have fingerless gloves, so I am the winner.
See, if you'd have had just the glove without the fingerless part, that would have done the same thing as the cozy.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mess.
So, yeah. Hey, mates, you know this by now. A year of listening to this podcast, it's a bit of a mess. Bit of a mess.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, anyway, well done, Brad.
Let's have a look at some interesting facts. Now, mates, this episode, we're going to do a victory lap. Like, imagine a guy in his 50s bought himself a sports car. Not a good sports car. I mean, it's the kind of sports car that someone is kind of... How about a Temu sports car? There we go. So this 50-year-old asshole has bought himself a Temu sports car, and he's driving around his local city. I'll help out Mark here. It's a small British village. It's got a
Right.
couple of streets at best. He's driving around the sports car, and he's like, "How's it? Yeah,
Saying what? How's it?
how's it? Yeah,
Well, why is he saying that?
how's it?" Instead of saying, "Hey, how?" Look, I would say, like a normal fucking person, "Hello,
Yeah, we say, all
hey."
right, all right.
How's it going, dude? Are you okay? But I assume someone in like a small English village can't pronounce that much, and therefore, how's it?
You assume absolutely incorrectly. Why? You've known me a long time. In English, if you
I
can
have.
get away with saying nothing, you'd say nothing. So you'd drive along, you'd probably vaguely nod in people's directions. If you were a total bell end, you might be all right, and that'll be it.
All right, there we go. He's saying, you're all right. Everyone thinks he's a bit of a twat, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That is the equivalent of what we're doing in this episode. You and me are going to sit back, drink a weizen with half a fucking beer cozy on. Like, seriously, the condom analogy is really hitting hard here.
So who are we? Are we the people in the car? Or are we the people watching the people in the car? Or are we the car?
We're the people in the car and the mates of the listeners being like,
Oh,
Jesus.
right. Okay. Right. I see.
Why are they doing a victory lap? They've got nothing to be
Yeah.
victorious
Okay.
about.
I see. I see.
There you go. See?
The analogy's
See?
fallen into place in a way I can completely understand.
I am a writer of the books. So,
Very good. I shouldn't have doubted you. You got there in the end.
and that is exactly what we'll be doing with this episode. We will get there in the end. I swear to God. We're going to talk about the podcast in general. We're also going to talk about something that's been fantastic in 2026, and that is horror. God damn, 2026 horror has been the thing to witness globally, right?
Yeah. I hesitate slightly because there's sort of two or three that have absolutely smashed the box office. That isn't everything, obviously, but there's a buzz about horror every time a teaser, every time a trailer comes on, the people attached to it. I was watching a brief interview with Zach Krager earlier, and just the joy and like the anticipation for that particular genre and all the various subgenres is higher than anything else. I think that's fair. I mean, we're talking right now as sort of Odyssey fever is sweeping, but on the whole, this year has been absolutely resolutely a horror year. And a lot of people I work with who perhaps don't watch films that often are getting really excited about, oh, this is coming out. Have you seen this? Or I could barely get through this. And it's a real pleasure. We will talk about it a little bit. I think it's interesting to see the movement from the much hated expression elevated horror into what we have now, and now we're settled into to me, a lovely middle. It's heightened in the sense that the people making those films have obviously seen a lot of films, appreciate a lot of films from a wide variety. So it's really classy stuff we're watching, but it has appeal. That's where you want to be, and I think that's where Brad generally is on the scale of films. It's like, I want to know it's been made really well, but I want to fucking enjoy it. I don't want to slog my way. I like a slog. The majority of, as my wife will attest, the majority of people will, yeah, it is where it should be at the moment. It's in the perfect sweet spot.
Mates, when I upload this podcast online, the metadata, all that kind of shit, I rack my brains trying to think of a quote for each episode, and I think I've got it. What Mark just said, I like a slog.
It's nice to be excited about stuff coming at the cinema. And there has been a little period where that hasn't been the case. I think, obviously the Marvels dropped off for the people that were into that. And there was that fatigue and frustration, I think. And now horror has pretty much taken on the mantle. And it's I do feel quite old, obviously, but it's great to see these young guys, young people coming through. And then there's the whole debate about what are the crew getting paid. So it's, it's creating a debate, and it's like its own little ecosystem again. And horror hasn't been like that for a little while. In fact, I'd say no genre has been like that for a little while. And also one thing I would say as well, it feels like at the moment, it'll change any day. It feels like it's escaped the grip of what we were so concerned about in season one, the industry holding fucking it down with its clammy hand. You'll do this and you'll do this and you won't do this. If you're making a film for less than $1 million, then that hand doesn't exist, or exists a lot less. And you might sell it, obviously on the distribution side, but there's a creative freedom. It is derivative to an extent. I'm not saying everything's completely original. Anyone's going to say, oh, yeah, but it's just. But at the moment, there's a really positive wave of fun creativity, which will get ruined. Of course, everything does. Probably we'll look back on this a year from now and go, well, they fucked that up. But at the current time, yeah, it's a joy. Coffee's kicked in for anyone listening.
I love the way that you explain that, Mark. That's a perfect summary. I think what a lot of people either forget or just don't give a damn about, horror has always been cyclical. Wes Craven said that years ago when he was talking about Scream or whatever. Horror is cyclical. It starts off with a huge boom, and the whole industry gets whiplash as this new hotness takes over, and everyone scrambles to catch on to the trend. And you see the studios get caught totally unawares, and then they embarrassingly try to scramble to catch up. And then what
Yeah.
normally happens is after about 3 to 4 years, the studios, as they always do, the great big sharks that they are, they just buy their way into it. So what I mean is, for example, the 80s. The 80s, Friday the 13th, or even before that, Halloween, and after that, Nightmare on Elm Street, all three of these movies were indie cinema. They were all made by indie studios. New Line Cinema, which released Freddy, they were betting the farm on this fucking movie so much that they had no more money to produce the movie. They had to get, I think, a loan. They had to really, really go well outside their comfort zone to pay for that film. Carpenter, he made Halloween for how much money? So in the 80s, these fucking hit. And then, of course, you see everyone try and jump on. Everyone suddenly comes out with a slasher. And of course, the studios, shamelessly, they have their slashers. Yeah, the audiences kind of go along with it. But then, like I said, yeah, it only took a couple of years. And then those studios bought those franchises. And then in the 90s, horror was dead. And then fucking Scream,
Yeah.
again by Wes Craven, was released by Miramax. I'm not too sure if Miramax, if Disney owned Miramax by then. I think
I
they
don't.
did, but
Mm,
still,
maybe.
Miramax was an outlier back then. And then that started the whole teen horror, boom of the 90s. And then now look where we are. Yeah, like Mark was saying, a lot of independent cinema, YouTubers or TikTokers or Instagrammers
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
are coming over and doing feature-length movies for a very small budget. And they're doing great. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. And I hope this continues. But again, horror is cyclical. I guarantee you, unfortunately, yeah, I'll be a Debbie Downer. You'll see Hollywood learn all the wrong
Yeah.
things, and then in a couple of years, they will just buy these filmmakers.
Well, they've arguably already started. Yeah.
How about this? Let's go through the horror films released this year so far. Now, mates, you may have seen some of these. You may have seen all of these. I think Mark has seen most of these. I have too. Let's just go through what this year's had to offer and see what we all think. 2026, we've had Return to Silent Hill. We've had Send Help from Sam Raimi. We've had the third 28 years later movie, The Bone Temple. David Koepp's Cold Storage. We've had Scream 7.
Oof.
We've had, and you have to call it this, Lee Cronin's The Mummy.
What happens if you don't
I
call it?
almost got a spit take from him there. Ha!
I just love the idea of someone coming through the window behind you and fucking garroting you for not mentioning Lee's name, Mr. Cronin's
No,
name.
no. Do you know how fucking annoying this is? If you are lazy like I am and you go on Wikipedia
Yeah.
and you start half-heartedly typing a film title, more
Yeah.
often than not, Wikipedia will be like, oh, you mean this? And 99% of the time, this is the correct title. If you type the and you think it's going to pop up with, of course, Brendan Fraser's The Mummy, Tom Cruise's The Mummy, and then yes, Lee Cronin's The Mummy. No, no, fuck you. You have to delete and type in Lee Crow, and then it pops up. That's where we're at.
You use AI, Brad. It's smarter, it's faster. You wouldn't need to worry. That's a joke.
Yes, yes. We've had Iron Lung from Markiplier. We've had, of course, the GOAT so far, Obsession, Hokum,
Mm.
of course, The Backrooms, Leviticus, Colony from Korea, Saccharin from Australia, and also Leviticus from Australia, the remake of Faces of Death, The Passenger, which I really want to talk about, Evil Dead Burn, Ready or Not 2. In future months, we have Resident Evil, the reboot, Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma, and a whole bunch of others.
Yeah, and there's quite a smorgasbord there because you've obviously got, I don't want to say I mean Scream 7 is a difficult one to talk about for lots of reasons, but you've got that, you've got
Hey, two things. I think Weizen might be my favorite type of beer.
even though you're drinking it wrong.
Yeah.
Go on.
Number two, the list we just ran through. Real lack of creature feature horror, I noticed.
You didn't even mention, was it this year or last year together?
Whoa, was together this year.
I
I
think
think it
it's
might have been.
yeah, it's and the substancy, it's the end of last year. So yeah, if we
Hmm.
think about it like waves on the beach, because I mean we're talking about cycles, but at the moment it's that body horror wave is withdrawing, that scream renaissance wave is withdrawing, and then you've got the next flush of even younger. I mean, the guy that made Backrooms is like 3 or 4 years old, isn't he? And but this is the thing that people our age misunderstand about the young is they are smarter than us. Dress it up however you want. They are smarter than us. They're more canny than us. They're more worldly wise than we could ever be.
They're so much more keyed into their emotions than we are. And they're not
Yeah.
afraid about that either. Like if they say, this makes me feel uncomfortable,
Yeah.
like just the balls to say that.
Absolutely. They're very, I think our generation is desperate to portray them as people obsessed with their little screens and not doing anything. But no, they are very creative. They've got the tools in their hand, quite literally, to be able to do things that we would and did struggle to do when we were of that age. So they've got the means and they've got the resources to produce really interesting stuff. But yeah, if you look at the stuff you've reeled off, there's stuff that the studios have kind of infected. You've got the things that studio are obviously owning and producing, and then you've got things that are on the edge of that. You've got all these little, like I said, mini waves. You've got the folky horror stuff. I actually rewatched Midsummer. Probably it's a PhD thesis how these are all intermingling and how some of them are working outside the system, some of them are kind of in the system, some of them are supported on the back end. There's a lot of support on the back end, isn't there? Well, you make it, and we'll put it out there, and we'll make sure it gets to places that we think it will be seen by. So, and I personally like that model because we've talked a lot about creative interference, and that tends to happen obviously a lot more when it's affecting the production itself. But when you're doing it on the back end, you're letting people. It's kind of the best of both worlds. You'll let people do what they're going to do and then go to film festivals or screeners, catch that buzz and get distributed by people that have got the clout to distribute it.
Mm.
That's what we saw sort of back in the 70s. That's what you would kind of ideally want, really. Now,
Mm.
we know, as we've just discussed, that the big beasts will be lumbering over and taking their analogy doesn't work, but they will be becoming more involved in production and they'll fuck it up because they always do. But at the moment, we're not trying to be negative. It's just a really fun time. And yeah, I watched the trailer for the new Resident Evil, and he said it's a video game. I'm making a film like a survival horror video game. I don't know if you've seen the trailer where he has only got a limited number of bullets, and he's obviously earned a bit of credit. And he's like, no, this is how I want to do it.
Now, let me ask you here while I continue drinking my beer. Mates, for those of you unaware, Zach Krieger is the director of Barbarian, which hit pretty big, but then he directed Weapons.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, I think, Weapons was the big hit of last year, horror
Yeah,
wise.
yeah.
And it certainly got a lot of attention. And if it had dropped this year, it would have been massive. As we've talked about, movie after movie after movie making waves. It was out last year, did great business for the production company, for himself. And then he went and made an IP film. He made Resident Evil, which I am really of two minds about. And
Yeah.
then we've seen it this year with Cory Barker, who has directed Obsession. He has another movie ready to go. I think it comes out end of this year or early next year. But after that, he's already booked up with a Texas Chainsaw remake. So this is exactly what I mean about Hollywood. We saw it happen with John Carpenter, with Wes Craven, with Toby Hooper, with all of these big time horror directors. They make a couple of indies, they get noticed, and then they don't leave it behind. But Hollywood comes a calling with a much bigger paycheck and a much bigger budget, and they start to make the mainstream films. And yeah, like I said, I'm of two minds of it because
Yeah.
these filmmakers, I don't want to say kids, because there are filmmakers in this list this year who aren't 22. These filmmakers, they've really done something different. And the best part is what I always say about horror is that it's got to say something. Like, for example, like, oh, I just watched a zombie movie and oh, it was a zombie movie. That's fine. There is a place for roller coaster ride horror movies that have no other ulterior motive than to help you eat your popcorn and give you a couple of jump scares. That is fine. But when horror has something to say, it can be lethally good. And a lot of these movies dropping this year have all had something to say. And because they're coming from new voices, those things being said are valid and are turning heads.
Yeah, and they're not.
I just worry that once they start, like, what is it? I think Cory Barker, even though he's booked up, like I said, with Texas Chainsaw, he was offered an 8-figure deal or something
Yeah.
ridiculous. Yeah, sight unseen for his next movie, just for him, not the budget for the film, just for his paycheck, 8 figures.
Yeah, I know.
How do you feel about that?
I'm not surprised. It's how the world is. My issue or my concern would be that obviously once you've bought someone, you own them and you can start telling them what to do and what not to do. And at the moment, okay, let's take Weapons. It has a narrative structure that I don't want to talk about too much in case you haven't seen it, because it's not the first I've ever seen that narrative structure, but it does it in a fun, inventive way. It fuses lots of different genres, and a lot of people have talked about the end sequence where the bad guy is being chased. The way it films it turns it into a kind of comedy. So what we're seeing with these kinds of films is you can see the influences, you can see this generation of people that have been subjected to so many different influences and horror and comedy, and it's all mixed up. It's not divided or subdivided like it used to be. So when I watch, Obsession, they're little glimpses of Korean horror in the sound design. You can tell, because we're relatively cine literate, you can tell that these people are cine literate and they've got a wide range of influences, and no one is telling them, oh, you can't do that because that's too obscure. So obviously the worry would be, if you pay for someone, if you literally buy someone, hopefully not, but you're likely to want to have an influence over what that person does, and you're going to think you know better. We've seen it a million times before. You'd like to think that these young people would still be able to insert their own creativity into it, but we're just both jaded enough to know that it doesn't always happen. So we'll see. I mean, again, and if this lot do go down that path, then there's another lot behind them waiting to burst out. So I think, again, because of access to filmmaking equipment, it's less likely, because there is that group behind who are going to be like, right, fuck that, you've sold out, I'm going to do this. So my hope would be that even if that does happen with the current generation, yeah, I think Backrooms Kid also is kind of a similar thing. And now you're going to see a whole bunch of films based on internet memes completely missing the point. That may well happen, but I have enough faith that there are enough people with that creativity and access. Access is really important, that would then push forward, and the next wave will just roll in quite. I think the waves are going to roll in quicker, is what I'm trying to say.
If there is a birthday wish for Written Off I'd love to see realized, it would be more listeners, more mates. No, I'm not going to ask you to go buy my book. There are plenty of other episodes where I beg and scream and talk about that. No. for this ad break, why not share the podcast? You got a friend that you actually don't like? Recommend the show. It'll help break up your relationship. You got a friend you love, but they are movie/screenplay podcast deficient in some way? Recommend this show. But I know what you're thinking. This is my podcast. I like it. I like me and my mates keeping it intimate. I get that. And trust me, if we had a bajillion listeners, I don't think it would affect the show too much. We'd still be as stupid and as, well, mostly useless as we are now. I promise. It would just be on a much bigger, stupider scale. But hey, you got no friends, or it's just not your kind of thing? That's cool. Why not just hit us up on social media at WrittenOffPod? Join the conversation. Tell us, how was this episode? How was another episode you listened to? Did you agree with us? Did you not? And finally, if those two things aren't really your thing, well then why not rate and review us on whatever podcatcher you use? You use Apple Podcasts? Smash that 5-star thingamajiggy thing. Write a funny comment about how idiotic we are, yet damn well enjoyable to listen to. Whatever device you're on, whatever app you use, hitting that like helps us to get out there more and to find other mates who might be drifting through the cosmos, unaware of the joy that this very show brings. And you could be the person to help snatch them into our stratosphere. So why not? Go ahead. 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. Okay, back to the anniversary special. Of that list I just reeled off, what is one movie you'd like to single out and talk about the most?
You go first. I've got some ideas. You go first.
Of that list that I mentioned, the movie I want to single out the most, and I don't want to be too negative, but the movie I want to talk about the most is a film called Passenger. Now, Passenger is a film released by Paramount Pictures, right? And the budget was small. I think it was $15 million. But this movie had the unfortunate timing of coming out in 2026 among all those other horror films I just mentioned. And the reason why I'm singling out Passenger is it is incredibly a studio picture out of touch with its audience and its time. Watching this movie, I didn't hate it, but I was bored and I was disappointed, and I felt I wasted my time because there's so much out there better to see. For example, if this movie was released in the late 90s, early 2000s, I'm sure people would be like, oh yeah, that film. But this is a film in 2026. Not to segue, but in the 1960s and early 70s, Hollywood was out of touch with the American audience. It was a big, big issue. Studios were making, Westerns or whatever the fuck, and they were not connecting with audiences. And then these young filmmakers seemingly came out of nowhere and made these seismic movies which shaped American and global cinema. You had Francis Ford Coppola with, of course, The Godfather. You had George Lucas with Star Wars, Spielberg with Jaws, etc., etc., Brian De Palma. In that time period, all the films that these old studios and these old producers and this old way of thinking, nobody talks about those movies anymore. They've all been forgotten. But sure as fuck, everyone knows The Godfather, everyone knows Star Wars, everyone knows The Graduate, everyone knows these big films that turned heads. And a film like Passenger belongs forgotten.
Well, I didn't see it, but partially because you kind of warned me off it. But I think if you look at it just from a marketing point of view, it was positioned right in the middle of Hokum, Obsession, Backrooms. It tried to sneak in. It's like one of those animals that impersonates another more successful quote unquote animal. It tried to sneak in. The leaf that looks like a snake or whatever. It tried to sneak in, and it was like, you might accidentally see me thinking you're watching one of them. And even the marketing was like, the trailer was quite good.
In the last 2 or 3 years, trailers, horror
Yeah.
trailers. I think it really, really started with your favorite movie, Longlegs.
My favorite movie, Long Legs. Yeah, exactly. I'm wearing a Long Legs t-shirt.
Longlegs had such a unique trailer that everyone was dying to see this movie. Everyone was like, holy shit, that fucking trailer.
Yeah.
Even so much that the director, Osgood Perkins, he said publicly, like, man, the marketing team for Longlegs, they really helped me out big time on this movie. From that, all these indie studios very much broke down that trailer, researched it,
Yeah.
did some test audiences, and now we're seeing really fucking good horror trailers. And yeah, Passenger, I make a point of not watching trailers. If I'm gonna go see a movie, like for example, The Odyssey, I haven't seen the trailers. I just want to go in blind. Passenger, unfortunately, I saw the trailer in front of another movie I was seeing, and I was like, holy shit, that's a fucking good trailer. That's hooked me. And unfortunately, that trailer is basically the first 3 minutes of the movie. And then the rest is like, well, you're shit out of luck now.
A comparison might be the Masters of the Universe film, which is a film that would have probably flown 10 years ago. I think if they'd have got it out in and around the Guardians of the Galaxy time, I actually watched it 2 days ago.
Why do you think Motu, as the kids call it, why do you think that failed? Because I've got some buddies here who went to see it at the cinema and they said it was a genuinely good time. It's not for me. No shade. It's just, it's not a franchise I've ever felt a connection to. But I saw the trailer for that and I was like, yep, that's a studio picture, a fantasy. That'll make all the money. And it made none of the money. That and Supergirl. I wonder why those two have fallen so
A
hard.
day late and a dollar short. Sadly, things move on. It's like if you see a car and there's a trend for cars and you see a car company that's a bit late and they produce the thing that everyone loved, but then you're like, yeah, but yeah, I've seen that though. I think it is quite as simple as that. It's a successful film on its own terms, I would say. It does pretty much what you'd expect it to do, and it does it pretty well. It's a bit meta, it's kind of earnest, but it's also funny. But it's too late. It's wearing skinny jeans when everyone else is wearing wide leg jeans. I don't think it's much more complicated than that. They took too long.
I will never wear wide leg jeans. I'm a fucking skinny jeans man to the day I die.
No, well, I'm the same, but then we're in our mid 40s, aren't we? I think, and I always love those films that I enjoy, but they've come out too late. And then, 30 years from now, people will watch it and they won't realize it was 20 years after Transformers. And they'll say, oh, that's of a piece with those things.
Getting back to the horror, but also connecting to Masters of the Universe, I think finally Hollywood is learning a lesson and it's really slow to learn, unfortunately. So I think we won't see a full course correction until about 2 or 3 years from now.
Mhm.
But finally, hey, maybe we shouldn't be spending 180 fucking $1 million on one picture. So you've got Backrooms, $750,000. And look what it did. It trounced the box
Well, I
office.
think that's
And
Obsession,
even,
right?
sorry, what did I say?
Backrooms was also cheap, but it was 10 million or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, Backrooms was, yeah, cheap considering, but yeah, sorry. I should have said Obsession. Masters of the Universe, that cost definitely over 150 million.
Yeah.
So you add marketing costs,
Yeah.
which is normally double. How the fuck are you gonna A, make your money back, and B, go into the green? It's just you're fighting an uphill battle from the get-go. And sure, I fucking Spider-Man Brand New Day, goddamn Avengers. Yep, we'll all line up like fucking pigs at the trough. I know that's how it's going to be, but come on. You make a $10 million movie, you market it for 10 or 15. But then again, maybe it's not as easy as that, Mark, because there's a reason why since I think the 70s, filmmakers, especially young and upcoming filmmakers, they get their big break with or through horror because horror typically A, you can do cheap. B, I think the really, really good horrors are cheap. Like I'm looking at you, It Follows.
Yeah.
What a stellar concept that didn't need a lot of money. But also C, genre pictures like that, globally, your movie can be sold to various distributors in multiple countries if your movie is a horror.
Well, It Follows is interesting. I rewatched that the other day, and of course, it still stands up, but you can feel its fingerprints on a lot of what we're seeing now. And you can feel Twilight Zone and The Outer Limits, and those kinds of shows obviously had a big influence on what we're seeing now. And great, like I said earlier, you could call it even derivative to an extent. That there's not really anything in any of those films where I've thought, well, I've never seen that before. Apart from, I mean, maybe Backrooms. I know Backrooms comes from the YouTube series, which I have watched, but it does definitely, it is very uncanny. And some of the things that I'm seeing in that film, I don't think I've seen in a film before. A film, I don't, have you seen Backrooms? I don't know if we talked
Yes.
about it. The sequence really got to me where I'd say the last third of the film that slightly lets it down if I'm being a bit harsh, but the scene up until that point, just before we switch to the therapist, where he's running through multiple rooms. Yes, we've seen a chase film before, but the that uncanny, unsettling, where are we going? Oh, we're going nowhere feeling was really got to me actually. It really did affect me. Again, I think it possibly lost its way a little bit when it thought, shit, we need to have a narrative here. And that last third, we're going to have a bit more explanation. We are going to have a bit of narrative. For me, I didn't need it. But there are elements of that film that really did feel like, oh, this is not something I've seen in a cinema before. Regardless, if we're talking about the film you saw, there are always going to be, if you look at the video nasty era, there are always going to be less successful versions of things that have done well. If you look at the creature, like the gremlins, critters, ghoulies, school, and then it's quite interesting to show them to people that haven't seen them before, and they can't always decide. Well, gremlins is obviously the standout, but they can't always decide that for themselves, which I always find quite interesting when it's out of that trend and we assess it on its own merits. And you're not sure which came first. That happens, that happens as you get older, doesn't it? Well, hang on a minute, which one did come, which was the influence and which was the influenced, and you're not always sure. And at the moment, I like that. I like it feels quite fluid. I feel like, oh, I'm not sure what this next thing. And obviously, let's say Zach Krager, you're right. I'm waiting for the next Krager thing because he has done things that I've enjoyed and have immersed me and has got a good response and scratches the itch kind of thing. Yeah, it's exciting, and that's what I was saying earlier. It's nice to be excited. For example, you'll go into a cinema and you'll see a movie poster. Oh, I didn't know. Oh, right. The monkey, for example. Oh, wow. There's another Osgood Perkins film coming right up, is there? Okay, great. You can produce them quickly. The ideas seem to flow a lot easier. You've not got so many barriers in place to at least getting the fucking thing made. Whether or not you can get it distributed and shown, as you know yourself, is a different matter. But at least getting it made is a much more fluent thing at the moment. And the one thing we haven't really talked about is getting people back into those big rooms with big screens, because you will remember, and I remember COVID, during COVID, just post COVID, everyone's like, well, cinema's dead. No one's going to go anymore. The 3D thing that we were using to make money off them, that's dead. So it's dead, 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 dead. And the young generation now is going to the cinema much more regularly. They're going multiple times. They're engaging with the world. They're engaging with this big room with a big screen in it. It's reassuring because a lot of people spoke very confidently about the death of cinema, just like they speak very confidently about, well, AI is going to do this. Well, actually, you don't know. Just because you say it confidently doesn't mean you actually know what you're talking about. And it's pleasing to see that horror has dragged people literally kicking and screaming back into cinema, and word of mouth is still a thing. Of course, it's still a fucking thing. It'll be a thing until we're all extinct, and the cinema is the place to develop it. So from that point of view, even probably we've talked even 3 years ago about, oh God, what's going to happen to cinema? Well, it turns out it's still a fucking thing. And horror has to be praised for starting a lot of those conversations again.
Mr. Mark Tasker, final thoughts on horror in 2026.
I tell myself, just enjoy it while it's lasting. Don't worry about what's going to happen next year. Don't worry about the inevitability of its demise. Just enjoy it while it lasts. And I've been on this. You mentioned long legs. That's 2 years ago. So this little period of the things that are getting getting me to the cinema or horror, this little period for me has been 2.5 years, and I'm really enjoying it. And I'm really enjoying and hearing people I know that probably haven't been to cinema for a while. Again, my young coworker who's like, "Oh, I'm into this again now. This is something I want to do, and this is something people are talking about. It's lovely to see. Let's just enjoy it and not worry about where we're going to be 2 years from now." It's been a real thrill and a real pleasure. Like I said, I went back and watched Midsummer, that earlier cycle of quote unquote elevated horror, and I really enjoyed that as well. It's just a genre that has life to it. You can feel its heart beating.
Mark, I have a couple of questions for you about Written Off in general.
Right, okay.
How many episodes have we released in a year?
30?
Oh, well done. Almost. Yeah, 32 episodes a year. And I got to say, personal point of pride, never missed a release date. This podcast comes out every 2 weeks. Every Friday, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. And we've never missed a release date. And that's just something that personally I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah. Through sickness, through relationship breakups, through work, or fucking me releasing a book, or filming and releasing short films, whatever going on, we have managed to hit our release date for an entire year. And I hope when we do our second year anniversary, we can say the same thing.
I hope so too. Yeah, well, that's credit to you, really. Like I said, I flippantly made the comment earlier, but I do virtually nothing. I just turn up, say some stuff off the top of my head, and then Brad has to wrangle it all together. So that is all down to him.
What do you think is the oldest film we've covered in a year?
The old, as in the release. Oh, I don't know.
The release date, yeah.
Oh, I can't think off the top of my head. I'm not sure.
It is Star Trek, the motion picture.
Oh yeah, which I very much enjoyed. That was an episode that stands out to me because I got schooled, and I like getting schooled, by the way, and I think everyone should enjoy getting schooled. But I got schooled by your dear friend. It was really good.
What is the newest film we've covered? Technically, it was our second episode,
Oh God,
which you were barely involved in.
I have no idea. Second episode. I don't remember Skyscraper. It wasn't that, was it?
That was our first episode. It was I Know What You Did Last Summer, the 2025.
I was going to say I was so not involved with that. I haven't even seen it even to this day.
Keeping with some numbers, Mark, our mates, our listeners around the world, of which we are so thankful for. What do you think the statistical breakdown is for people per country? So, for example, looking at a year's worth of data, where do you think our listeners are from or currently residing?
UK?
At 23%, it is the United States.
Oh, wow.
Hello, American mates. Thank you so much. So much. I really hope we have not offended you. But then again, with the current state of your country,
you're used to it.
Yeah, they must be used to it. At 18.66% are our mates in the United Kingdom.
Hello, everyone. I do get stopped on the street very often.
Are you asked to sign autographs or like
Selfies?
to sign their breast or some random stuff like that?
No, no one's asked for that yet. It's just
Wow, season 2.
But no, thank you for continuing to listen. I don't know why.
How half-hearted was that? Thank you for continuing to listen. At 13.79% are our tomodachi in Japan. Fantastic. Look at this. What a multinational audience. The US, the UK, Japan coming together in the pursuit of podcasting excellence? Question mark. Tied at 12.75% is Germany and New Zealand. Holding hands, sharing happy smiles, Germany and New Zealand are tied for their mateship. That's a word. Mateship.
They're tied in there. Well, like together, the film Together.
Yeah, of which I haven't seen and probably won't. Don't think it's for me. Not a fan of any Franco, to be honest.
I don't know. Dave, he seems to get away with it, doesn't he?
Yes. He does seem to get away with it. Rounding it all out, we have mates in Singapore. Hey, you, Canada, Vietnam, and Hong Kong. I'm I am the British word is chuffed. Really happy with our listenership, viewership, audience. It's fantastic. Honestly, a year ago, if you'd asked me, "Hey Brad, who do you think's going to listen?"
Mhm.
And I would have said, well, I mean, you're based in the UK, I'm based in New Zealand, probably there. But the fact that we've got people in Singapore listening, people in Japan, people in America listening to this podcast, God, it makes me so fucking happy.
I'm glad.
Right. Okay.
No, no,
I
look.
passed the ball
Any
to him and he just fucking,
kicks it into the fucking grass.
yeah, right
Yeah,
into my face. Yep.
but that's the dynamic, Brad. There's no getting away from it. You bring the moxie and I bring the poison.
I like that. That works.
Yeah, but that's how it's always worked, Bradley, from our very first meeting.
Yes.
That's how it works. And to deny that is to deny nature.
Mark, heading into year two,
Yeah.
what are your hopes for this show?
God. Hopes? I haven't got any hopes for anything. No, I'd like.
Let me be real, because I'm a whole can of weizen in, because Mark's just drinking the coffee. Mates, when Mark left Japan and I left Japan, we wanted to make sure we kept in touch. And you guys must know how difficult it is to
Yeah,
maintain contact with your fucking friends in your city,
yeah,
let alone different countries.
absolutely.
So this podcast was first and foremost an excuse for us to hang and talk about our favorite topic, which is movies. But the fact that you, mates, are here with us as we catch up and talk about movies, it's just two for the price of one. So my hope is that year two, even better,
Yeah.
bigger episodes, more collaborations with other lovely people, just more hijinks.
As I said to you at the outset of this, it's got to feel. I'd like to think people listening to it don't think it's forced in any way because it's definitely not. There are some episodes where you might be able to hear that I've actually prepared stuff, and I still have some old notes on my phone. And I'm not saying it's not good to prepare, but Brad does the preparation, and the balance of it is the fact that you've got two people with two different approaches and two different approaches to film as well. And I think I don't want to be jaded because I do think film is having a good moment. I do think it's back, and that isn't, yeah, all right, certain things aren't doing so well, but I think that it's cinema's on the crest of a wave again, and it's nice to talk about it. If you listen to those first episodes, yeah, fucking Skyscraper and Army of the Dead and shit like that, where everyone's thinking, well, it's streaming now. It's streaming. No one knows how it's financed. No one knows how it makes money. No one knows how anything gets done anymore. I think we're going back a bit towards, you know what? Do it smart, be creative, and people will find you. And that I think film festivals are going to have a big buzz again because people can see, hopefully yourself included, look, come and see this thing. See? Right, okay, yeah. Let's throw a bit of money and just get it towards people so people can go and see it on a big screen in a dark room. That's exciting. It is exciting. Even I find that exciting, believe it or not. So yeah, that's my hope is that our energy, your energy, let's be honest, will reflect that positivity and people understand that I'm not as much of a miserable prick as I sound. I am, in my own way, happy.
The biggest change for me in terms of experiencing this podcast with you, Mark, is that I've learned to accept less linear storytelling or
Yeah.
less you could say less formulaic or less how about less traditional. But in talking with you over this year, experiencing some of the movies that we've experienced, and then hearing your observations, because I think it's well established, isn't it, mates? Mark's sphere of reference is a lot more worldly than my own. I find that now, when I sit down to watch a movie, I've got, I suppose, a bit more of an open mind about things. And certainly recently making my own short films, this past half a year. Look, I always try for a joke on this podcast. I always try for the easy joke, which is probably nothing to write home about. But honestly, anybody who makes a film deserves the praise. We've
Yeah,
covered
yeah,
films
yeah.
that, yeah, we've said some harsh things about before,
Zack
or
Snyder doesn't deserve the praise.
okay, there we go. But just, mates, I got to tell you, just I've been toiling away on two short films, and the amount of time
Yeah.
and energy and focus that goes into.
And bravery, because to commit to something, and I think in the times in which we live, to commit to anything more than 30 seconds of time and effort feels like a big commitment. So to commit, yeah, and to be like, we're doing this, and to not lose faith halfway, and to pull other people along with you. Yeah, as you say, I would agree with that. I am quite snippy about certain things which I feel are washed and half-assed. But I have to concede that there are a lot of people, and I was thinking about that actually watching Master of the Universe, how many people would have been like fucking sweat, tears thrown into it, and they need to be acknowledged. The people that made the sets for Backrooms or whatever it might be. In it, even the film that is considered the shittiest of the shit will have had some
Passenger.
people. Well, yeah, but it'll have had people there dedicated to making that shot of that tree look as good as it can look. And yeah, that shouldn't be lost in anything that we say. It's just we say things out of a bit of frustration and a bit of love.
We've got a couple more episodes left of season one. I think we've got about maybe 5 episodes left, and then we'll be launching pretty much straight into season two. And we'll be telling you more about that closer to the date. But for now, I think we can both say that the next year of Written Off, we'll continue doing exactly what we're doing. But hopefully, just we'll keep finessing. Like, for example, you listening right now, what would you like to see implemented on this podcast? Like, we've tried extra bits here and there, like I really like favorite IMDb quotes when I can remember to include it in the episode, stuff like that. But what parts work for you guys? What parts don't? Let us know. Jump on Instagram at Written Off Pod. Throw us your comments. Just smash us in the face, slide right into those DMs, whatever you feel like doing. No judgment here. It's going to be a great year two of Written Off with you listening.
Please put forward your opinions and be prepared for me to completely ignore them.
Thanks, buddy. 1 year down, many, many more to go. It'd be great if, like, year 10, we look back and be like, listen to us.
As I'm on life support somewhere in some dingy hospital. And what I do think, or I was thinking as you were drinking your delicious German beer, is we should try and do a reverse episode where it's the morning for you and it's the evening for me. And because I think
And
psychologically,
I'll still be drinking beer.
children be damned. I do sometimes feel a bit guilty about the energy difference between us. As much as I think I am a morning person, to an extent. Yeah, that's one of the fascinating things about doing this is seeing
I would
you.
say the mates, if anything, would be like, Jesus fucking Christ, Bradley, just calm down, you overexcited chipmunk fuck.
Well, yeah, just as I did when we first met. That does factor into this, but we are really at opposite ends of the day, of the world, of the seasons. Brad sitting in his rapist gloves while I sit in my
What the fuck?
vest. I like fingerless gloves. I'm all about fingerless gloves. But yeah, I'd love it for me to be the one drinking a mid German Weizen.
One person I have to single out is Mark's lovely, lovely wife, Gina Marie. We've had her on the podcast. We'll be having her on the podcast in the future. She has been the number one supporter for both of us, this whole project. Gina also has her own podcast in the making, which would be great when she can announce that. And also, we use her Zoom to record
Yeah.
these podcasts. So it's all thanks to her. So thank you very, very much, Gina.
Yeah, I'm literally using her computer right now. The sacrifice that she's made.
Marrying you, first of
Yeah,
all.
yeah, absolutely.
Fuck! One thing I will tease for the future, mates, Gina, speaking of Gina, she floated an idea. My films hopefully will be touring film festivals in the upcoming future. And hopefully one of those film festivals will take place in the UK. So I might just pop
Imagine that.
over and hang out with my mates. Jesus Christ, we could actually record a Written Off podcast together. And then we could have a lot of mid drinks. And imagine how unusable that audio would be.
Yeah.
No, listen. This is the
Yeah, yeah.
some version of that.
It's Well, it's a possibility. Can you call your film a documentary and then it could get into the Sheffield Doc Fest?
Oh,
You could just slide it in and say, no, it really happened like this and see if they don't notice or not, and then you can stay here. Yeah, it would be nice.
putting it out there. Maybe not year 2, could be year 3. Love. I know you wouldn't, but I'd love to do a live show. That would be terrific.
Where would you stream it?
Couple of beers in, be great. Or catastrophic, but still, I think the mates would like it.
Yeah, Brad once live streamed a film that we made. I think about that sometimes. Do you remember when you put the horror film out so that he's got his eyes closed? The smile on his face is indescribable. Pride, disgust, embarrassment.
Which sums up written off 1 year of written off again. I know you're sick of hearing it, but mates, thank you so much. You specifically listening right now. If you're listening to this episode and it's your first time, or you've listened to all of our previous eps now and in the future, thank you, because it goes without saying, you could be listening to a ton of other podcasts or doing whatever you like, but you chose to spend your time with us. And that's just, Mark can joke about how little effort he puts in, but he does put an effort, and so do I. And the fact that you enjoy us, it means everything.
Yeah, we can do a thing. I don't know if it was the same when you were a kid in New Zealand, but you could collect sort of crisp packets, little tokens that were on cereal boxes, and you could send it to the company on like a little postcard, and then you'd receive a toy. Or I think I did it for the still excellent Chris brand Monster Munch. So maybe we could do the same thing. You could, if you've listened to every episode, you could win, I don't know, a small figurine of Brad.
What would the figurine be doing? Like, is it posed like that Han Solo outstretched kind of gun pose, or is it just me sitting at the fucking desk editing these episodes?
I think you with your fingerless gloves like a creep, um, fondling a
That
used.
was a delayed reaction there. I was like, what did he call me? Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, and then yeah, you holding a mid German beer in a completely redundant beer cozy, which is definitely an Antipodean thing.
I gotta say, you have shattered my hopes and dreams about this fucking cozy. Look, this cozy even says it to it: cold beer and Christmas cheer. So it's telling me this fucking thing keeps my beers cold. But you couldn't leave well enough alone. You couldn't leave
Well,
your only Kiwi mate in just
yeah, true, you
blissful
are.
ignorance.
Well,
You're like, nah, I'm gonna fuck him raw.
if you were a real man, you'd have drunk it before you needed to put the cozy on.
Well, if I was a real man, I would have. Wait, so you said all the malt or the wheat goes to the bottom? So I should have shaken this up like
No,
a
you-
fucking fleshlight?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, if you like. You should have poured it gently into a large.
Oh, like a real man does. Gentle pours. That's the name of a band.
This is falling apart, Brad. Thank you very much for your time.
Well done to you too.
Well, no.
To many more years to come, my friend.
Yeah, that's the hope.
And to you listening right now,
Many thanks, and see you again very soon.
I hold my empty beer can up, and to you all, I say cheers.
Cheers, everyone. Bye bye.
Next episode, of course, there's a next episode. There's always a next written off episode, and that is not a threat. Next episode, we're dealing with M. Night Shyamalan's The Village. Yeah, do you remember that one? We sure do. Come and check us out in our next episode. Written off tackles M. Night Shyamalan's The Village. Until then, stay safe.
Oh.
Have a slice. Written Off is hosted by me, Bradley Freeman, and Mark Tasker. It's produced by the both of us, and it's edited by me. Our theme music is by Skane, and our artwork is by Sketchfro. This has been a Pugnacious Podcast production.